And that is why on Christmas in Pac-Land, Santa was a human. Now, hey everybody, how are you guys doing?
I can't wrap my head around that, Joe.
I still think it's a conspiracy by big tech.
I'm with Shaun on this one. It is a total conspiracy by big tech, guys. You got to open your brains.
I blame Dominion.
Patterns.
I blame Dominion.
Your freaking brains.
Open your brains.
I blame Donkey Kong.
Don't blame Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong
Big
didn't
tech
have
Atari. That's
No.
It's not Donkey Kong's fault. Come on, guys.
No, it's Bowser's fault.
It's Diddy Kong's fault, okay?
Justice for Diddy.
Diddy Kong is in the freaking manger. Okay, we do not mess with Diddy Kong in this house. Diddy Kong. Damn it, that joke got away from me. What the hell do they call it with the little baby in the manger? What do they call that?
The crash.
No, but the scene, the motif. What's it called?
The nativity.
Thank you.
Did you forget
Dang
the nativity?
I blanked
You're
out the
going to hell,
nativity.
Sean.
Merry
You're
Christmas.
going to hell.
By the way, anyone who
Blanked
puts
out
up
the
a
nativity
nativity,
for crying out loud.
anyone who puts up a nativity better keep baby Jesus out of it until the
what
25th.
the nativity is called. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the American Sci-Fi Classics Track. We have gone off the rails already. But we're going to get back.
Wait,
on
we
the
have
rails.
rails?
More or
No, we
less.
had rails.
More or less. On the rails is lame. We're going to stay off the rails. You're on the American Sci-Fi Classics Track, and because Dragon Con Goes Virtual was so fun, we're going to keep doing it. Every Thursday at this time, share it with all your friends. We got to get that YouTube money. We don't really. We're all independently wealthy, right?
Sure.
But tonight we almost have a full Brady Bunch talking about the greatest Christmas movies ever made. And we have a gaggle of people and a gaggle of things. And because it's the Christmas season, most of us wore Christmas apparel or Muppet-related apparel, Christmassy things, except for the first person I'm going to introduce, and her name is Bethany. Why?
Christmas is not actually really my holiday. My holiday is Halloween, as you can see from the Hocus Pocus sign behind me.
Yes.
And yes, I sat here for a reason. No, I was also just too lazy to go upstairs and grab my sweater. It was a long day. So, but hi people, I'm Bethany. You've seen me here before. My website's in my little name, and you can find me on Twitter. You can find me everywhere. Come say hi. I'm just like this in real life, I promise.
And we're going to have links to everybody's things in the show notes at the end of the show. And so you don't have to get a pen and paper out and write down very quickly as we are telling you our URLs as we go around. And next up, 2 internets away from me, Allison.
Hi, everybody. I haven't been here for a while. My name's Alison Sky Richards. I'm an author, and I pretty much enjoy talking about fandoms, usually comic books, especially with Nightwing and Batgirl. But you can find me on the interwebs at Twitter at Ali Sky Richards or on Facebook at Alison Sky Richards.
You are properly attired, and
I even have a bell.
1, 2, 3 internets away from me. Chad joining us for, I think, maybe just the second or third time.
I think second time maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
Hi, I'm Chad. I'm a novelist and a screenwriter, and the co-host of the Execute Chapter 66 podcast. It's a Star Wars fiction podcast. We review Star Wars novels. And the producer and co-host of A Feat of Lunatic Daring, which is a podcast about Jim Henson and the Muppets, where we're telling his entire story and also watching pretty much everything he ever made. We just put up our 5th episode. So my Twitter and everything is just my name. So it's real easy to find.
Easy.
Yeah.
And let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 internets clockwise from me, Shaun Rosado.
Oh,
Hey, how's everybody doing? My name is Shaun Rosado. Apparently, I'm 4 internets away and 1 down. I'm not quite sure how the geography works there. But yeah, if you guys have gone to Dragon Con, you've seen me plenty of times there. And we just recently did Pop Con just a month or so back, and that was a lot of fun. Had a lot of folks on here from that, and you can still go check that out. But yeah, if you guys are looking for anything cool for the holidays, make sure to go check out the wife and I. We actually have a little shop that we put together, and we sell at various conventions called popcycledbaubles.com. You can just simply go to popcycledbaubles.com, follow the links, have fun with it, and thanks for having me on, guys.
Of course. And the Alice in our Brady Bunch tonight, my unindicted co-conspirator, Mr. Gary Mitchell.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be here. Yes, I work with this lunatic right here on a regular basis. I know this person quite well. I know these people pretty well. I know this guy pretty well. So I'm pretty much here as the thread holding everything together.
You forgot someone, dude.
Hmm.
You forgot to point.
Thanks, Gary.
I started with Joe.
Yeah.
It's not Joe.
No, it's the other direction.
Allison.
I said that one too.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
I threw my hand up there.
It's already gone terribly wrong.
It's already gone terribly wrong.
Look, it went wrong before it started.
But at least you remembered the nativity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sean set the bar.
Yeah, and she still has some of my clothing in her house, so.
That's true.
And
I'm actually in my bedroom right now.
Most everybody you've seen in live action on the American Sci-Fi Classics Track, including our final panelist, our final special guest of the evening, Miss Elizabeth. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
We're not going to talk about E.T. tonight, so all
thank
is
God.
well.
I've heard horror stories about E.T. at Christmas, something like a song. I don't know.
Yeah. Scary.
No. Chris Cummins is going to be inflicting that upon all of us soon.
No. It's deep-seated trauma. Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I wrangle tiny humans by day, 8 of them. And by night, I commit random acts of fan lunacy with my friends. And I am attempting to get published, but it's not working very well so far. You can't really see my t-shirt right now, but I'm in a festive season too because my t-shirt, I'm an OG X-Files fan. Back in the day, it was my first internet fandom. So my t-shirt is Mulder's I Want to Believe poster, but there's Santa instead.
What?
UFO. $6tees.com.
That's awesome.
That's like stealth Christmas geek there.
It is.
There's the Christmas deep cut.
Oh, no, I'm the stealth geek at work, so it's all right.
Nice. Absolutely. So it's only taken us 45 minutes, but now let's talk Christmas movies.
Woo!
Christmas movie. It's a crazy time. And with streaming now available, there's so many more options than back in the olden times when you had to rush home and make sure that you were parked in front of the TV at 7 or 8 to get whatever the one showing of the Christmas thing you wanted to see was going to happen. But now we can see all of things all the time, whenever we want, more or less.
If you have Apple Plus.
If you have Apple Plus. and or Disney Plus, and there's a thing or two on Netflix. It's scattered about everywhere.
Hallmark Channel, that's my place.
Yeah.
Oh god!
I just turned it on what, October 23rd this year, and it kind of sits in the background.
Good looking widowers getting remarried, rediscovering love all season long.
They've got a great amount of silver foxes this year.
Yeah,
don't tell me that. Don't tell me
they
that.
Have
widowers.
That's my kryptonite.
Widowers with like artisanal jobs and stuff that just need to learn to love again. And
they do. That's every movie. My daughter is 17, and it is December 5th today. Yep. I've already watched, I believe, 20 of those.
It's December 3rd.
Okay, so 17. But no, I'm into all of it. So let's start. We'll start with Bethany. What's first on your list of?
The absolute first thing on my list, period, no holds barred, is this movie.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Great film.
Okay.
Yes.
Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, Rosemary Clooney, Vera Ellen. You can't go wrong. It's the best. Like, it's catchy. It's funny. You know, it's you know, it's like the Christmas version of The Princess Bride. It has everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
I don't know. White Christmas is the Christmas version of The Princess Bride.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Oh,
I'm good with that.
You have betrayal, you have true love,
okay.
you have escapades, you have adventures, you
But
have.
there's no sword fighting.
That's not
There's
true.
no
There's
sword
sword fighting in one part.
There's word fighting.
There's word fighting.
There's word fighting. Yeah, there's a lot of word fighting. Danny Kaye is.
They used the big fans at one point, like
Yeah, they used the
swords.
big fans.
Yeah,
I
like
know.
but I'm looking for Sicilians. I want to have a land war in Asia.
Look, it's not a
Never have
one-to-one.
a-
I'm just saying.
Never have a land war.
But it does have a
It's
pit of
all
despair. It
comprised
does have a
in
pit
their
of despair.
show. I mean, it's all comprised in their show. The beginning of the movie starts in World War II.
Yeah, it is one of the great. Crosby and Danny Kaye just have such chemistry. The two of them are magic together, and I just love that every time he tries to talk him into something. Crosby's like, no. He goes, he's like, never let anybody save your life.
I think it's one of the 15 DVDs my mom owns.
Yeah,
Wow.
it is the best.
And she gets, I think she gets choked up at the end when the with the veteran.
Yeah.
That part at the end.
And since I come from a military family and stuff, the movie is very, very close to my heart. My runner-up is this one.
Wait, we'll get there.
Next up, Allison.
All right, so this one comes back to things that you find when you're following the IMDb of actors you like. So I am a Supernatural fan, proud and true, and I found this one the year it came out, Thomas Kincaid's Christmas Cottage with Jared Padalecki. It also has some Ashmore in it, so it kind of falls into a Hallmark classic movie. This one I love because it's the story of Thomas Kincaid and when he found his inspiration to draw the light through his mentor, who's played by Peter O'Toole. And my God, if you've never cried with Jared Padalecki in Supernatural, you will cry with him in this movie because he is amazing in it. I actually love him in this more than I do in Supernatural at times.
What? How dare you?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This is my favorite Jared thing. So
wow.
So yeah. So that's my main one. And then I have to say, even though we're doing Christmas ones, we need a little bit of Hanukkah in here too. Cool. So I do have to bring up 8 Crazy Nights with Adam Sandler. Because it is both Christmas and Hanukkah, but we need to have a little bit of Hanukkah up in this house.
Look, everybody stop blowing your load in the first round. We have multiple rounds here.
Oh,
Are you kidding me? We haven't even
still have 6
started.
more over here, and that's not even
more.
Later.
We've got like 28 separate Christmas movies.
Yeah, I haven't even pulled the Hallmark ones off of my shelf that I own the DVDs of.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, I came to this panel prepared.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's get to let's go to for your first pick. Let's go to Chad.
Okay. So the reason I wanted to come on here is that Joe posted something about the him coming on here to argue that the Muppet Christmas Carol is the greatest Christmas movie of all time.
Oh damn, that's fire.
And I'm here to settle that. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens is a pretty maudlin affair, right? It's got joy and happiness, but that's all back-ended, right? Most of A Christmas Carol is about death, and it's about greed and sickness and what is beyond the grave and selfishness and all this stuff. And it's spooky, right? It's a ghost story more than anything. It's a ghost story. It's a scared straight story, right? But it's a ghost story. And most adaptations, reflect that. Jerry Jewell, who wrote A Muppet Christmas Carol and who, of course, was the Muppet writer from the early 60s for like the next 40 years. What he did with the film is he came up with the idea of inserting Charles Dickens into the film as the narrator. When he did this, he broke it. He broke the code and he figured it out. What this did was 2 things. One, it gave us actual Dickensian prose to go with the film. Mm-hmm. So that when you're telling the actual ghost story that is A Christmas Carol, It is narrated by actual factual Dickens words telling the story, and it actually lends a more authentic feel to those segments.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as Charles Dickens, he cast Gonzo the Great, and he paired him up with Rizzo the Rat. Now, that's an easy thing to do. Steve Whitmire and Dave Goelz have really good chemistry together. But what he was able to do by that is they could bring the funny. And so, and they bring a lot of funny. They bring a lot of funny. Lighten the lamp and not the rat and all that stuff. So, but because they are a separate part of the film, they're kind of spirits themselves in the movie. Actually, they kind of travel around just like the spirits do. And this is the central premise, the comedy never compromises the ghost story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the scariest part of the movie, in my opinion, is when Scrooge comes home and the door knocker turns into Statler's face.
Right.
He's playing Jacob Marley in the movie, but Statler's face, and lets out that awful moan. Creepy stuff, right? Then you go into the house and it's dark, and Dickens, Gonzo, is narrating with Dickens's own words about how Scrooge's house is dark and cold because light and heat cost money. Yeah, cost money, right?
Yeah.
And he's creeping in the stairs, and he comes in and has dinner. But listen, we know we're watching a Christmas story. A Christmas Carol. We know we're watching a ghost story. So the music is telling us the ghost is coming. The lighting is telling us the ghost is coming. The kind of drifting Friday the 13th-ish camera moves are telling us the ghost is coming. Then a bell rings, and the fire goes out, and the ghosts arrive. But the ghosts are Statler and Waldorf from the Muppet Show. And they come up laughing, coming back from the grave to heckle Ebenezer Scrooge. Now, at first you're a little shocked, and then you laugh. You laugh because they're funny. You laugh because they're old friends of yours if you're a certain age. You laugh because you're happy to see them. Now, for some of us, it is a little bittersweet. The movie itself is dedicated to the memories of Jim Henson and Richard Hunt, who died in 1990 and 1992, respectively.
Oh.
Richard and Jim were Statler and Waldorf. Those were that was their duo. So when they show up as ghosts in the first Muppet production after they died, it's a little bittersweet for some people. But either way, they show up. But you also laugh because you release the tension, right? You have this build up, and even if you don't know it, your body is a little tense from the music and the camera work, and you just have that release. And usually that release comes in laughter. You almost feel silly for being scared by a Muppet movie, right? Because what were they going to do? You get up there, and of course, it's just Muppets, right? Mm-hmm. But that relief only lasts for a second, because then the great Paul Williams, who wrote all the songs for the movie, drops the hammer on you. Because Marley and Marley, the song that they sing, is equal parts catchy and funny and fun and bone chilling.
Mm-hmm.
What they're singing is fun and funny, but what they are telling you is not. It is, you're doomed, Scrooge, doomed for all time. Your future is a horror story written by your crimes. And then they are dragged back to hell by the very chains that they just warned Scrooge that he would face when he hit the afterlife. And then their last cry into the mortal realm is a warning, is a plea, is a advice to their friend how to avoid their fate. In fact, the whole visit in A Christmas Carol of Marley is an act of kindness. And they tell him to change. The ghosts go away, the light comes back on, and we're left alone with Scrooge. And it's not funny anymore. It's not funny. We had our fun. We had the song, it's a catchy song, we had our jokes, but we're back in the ghost story now. And again, the comedy cannot compromise the ghost story. They do this so well throughout the entire film that what you are left with is a movie that is a very faithful adaptation of A Christmas Carol, amplified by the actual use of Dickens language, of Dickensian dialogue or narration, that is sweet, when it has to be, is sad when it has to be, is very scary when it has to be, and at the end is joyful and hopeful and fun like it has to be. At the same time, though, it is also a very funny, goofy, insane Muppet musical comedy.
Yep.
And it manages to be both of those things in equal measure. And the only way I can explain to me how that, it's magic. The movie is magic. The fact that they're able to take these two things and they work so well, this thought, the idea that he had to, and you know, Brian Henson does a great job, and everybody on it does, and Michael Caine's performance is incredible. Don't get me wrong, Michael Caine is an incredible Scrooge, but it's magic, and I could go on forever, and I won't. But I'll say it's my wife's favorite movie. It's not her favorite Christmas movie. It's not her favorite Muppet movie. It is her favorite movie. Nothing makes her happier than watching the Muppet Christmas Carol, and I just think the movie is absolute magic. And so that's some of the reasons why I think it is not only the best adaptation of A Christmas Carol ever, because some of them are so kind of drab and depressing and scary.
Point.
It is the point. It absolutely is the point.
I apologize.
No, you're right. It absolutely is the point. It just doesn't make it as enjoyable to me as the Muppets, because the Muppets one is still depressing. It is still sad. It is still scary. It is still heartfelt. You also just get to have a release every once in a while when they set Rizzo on fire and knock him out of a window.
I mean, it's much less terrifying than the George C. Scott version, which is the version that I grew up with as a small child, and there's nothing more terrifying than that movie.
No, and of course really not. No. I mean, and it's still a Muppet movie, but I watch it with my kids, and it freaks them the hell out. But in the right way. In the way that it's supposed to, and then they laugh when they're supposed to laugh, and they enjoy the story. And so it's my favorite Christmas movie ever. But I'm also a huge Muppet fan. But I think the balance that they strike in telling a very, very good version of A Christmas Carol, while also also at the same time telling a very funny Muppet movie with the little two-hander with Gonzo and Rizzo just doing crazy stuff the whole time. I think it's brilliant. That's
the only thing that I get mad at every year with the Muppet Christmas Carol is that when they show it on television, they cut out the song for Ebenezer's girlfriend.
The love is gone.
When they're breaking up.
The love is gone.
Because that is such an intricate song.
It is.
They're trying to say
it wasn't in the theatrical release either. It was cut before it hit theaters against Henson's wishes. He didn't want it. But it was cut before it hit theaters. It's only available on like the extended DVD, pretty much. When on Disney Plus, it doesn't have that scene.
So the weirdest thing is that they've got the tail end of the music because they show her walking away and Gonzo and Rizzo crying.
Yeah, it's an awkward cut.
You know, there's a song there.
There's a very awkward cut in that moment where they cut the song and Rizzo and Gonzo are crying, and you can ascribe it to the fact that she basically just broke up with him. But they're crying way too intensely for that, you know. So it is a little flaw in the movie because they decided to cut that scene.
And then they
Blu-ray has
it
an extended version. Yes.
I'm sorry.
You're right. They reprise it. They reprise it at the end. Yes.
Yeah. So if you've never actually seen the movie, please pick it up on DVD or Blu-ray and watch it with everything in it.
Yeah. There's also 2 other songs on the soundtrack.
Yeah. There's the
one that Bunsen Honeydew was supposed to sing.
Yeah, that's the one for when they come to get the donation. Originally.
Yeah, and one other, and they were recorded, but they were never actually filmed. They were cut before they filmed the movie. So they put them on the soundtrack, but there's no like deleted scene with those songs in them or anything. So, but that's my first choice, and always will be.
Well, dang, I did not know that it was on Disney Plus. So
everything
all the Muppets are there.
Well, not the Muppet Show, not the Muppet.
Yeah, Muppet Show's not there yet.
No, it can't. Music rights.
Music rights are a pain.
Yeah, the music rights basically anything from the 70s and the early 80s, because they didn't lock that stuff down for basically syndication rights for like other platforms. Yeah. They're in all kinds of hell.
It's streaming too. Like we're never going to see, like Judd Apatow said, we're never going to see Freaks and Geeks again because they spent years trying to get all the music rights for the DVD releases, and now they have to go back and do that for streaming. Yeah, and because each contract says, okay, fine, you can release it on DVD. But then streaming happens, and they move the bars, and so the Muppet Show is just full of licensed music that Disney could afford, but
Will
This
they?
is
Yeah,
why-
is it worth them jumping in?
Physical media, guys. This is why it'll never die.
Yep. Amen.
Yes, it will. But go ahead.
I was going to say, Bethany, you
That's a
could just turn
different
the
panel.
camera around, show
Yeah.
them the
That's
collection.
a whole different panel. Speaking of the death of physical media, Shaun.
Hey, I
Shaun
am
Rosado,
the
the death of physical
No, I'm not the death
Fear
of physical
his
media.
power.
But I absolutely misunderstood the purpose of today's panel because I thought we were all going to be making jokes and you guys are all being serious with your Christmas music, your Christmas show picks.
No,
And
no.
this one meme has been rattling around in my brain now for about a week. And I'm like, oh, I got to talk about this. This is perfect, which is why Aliens is the perfect Christmas movie.
It is a perfect.
It is the perfect Christmas movie. And if you haven't heard about this, let me please set it up for you.
Yes.
A woman who has a job that consumes her life journeys to a cold, small, isolated town.
Mhm.
There, she meets a rustic but caring single guy and a little girl looking for a mother figure. By the end of the movie, they have formed a new family unit. Boom! Aliens is a Christmas movie.
It's a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Yeah, it's a Hallmark Christmas movie.
It really is. It covers all the bases that you ever need.
It's
Just don't-
probably
just don't
on
watch
the
the-
movies and mysteries channel.
Just don't watch the third one because you don't want to see what happens to that family.
No.
You know what?
That-
Again, that is a different
That's a
conversation. I
lifetime
love
movie.
Alien 3, but that's a whole
Yeah.
other monster. But if we're being serious, though, actually, the very first movie that came to mind is always the movie that I think of when I think of Christmas time. And it's actually the second movie I watch when I start. I have certain movies I have to watch when I put up my Christmas tree and whatnot. And the second one, it's funny because for years, Christmas Vacation would be what we put on when we put up our
Mhm.
Christmas tree. And it used to be, we have to get the tree and all the decorations up by the time the movie's over. But our tree over the years has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. So we need 2 movies now to finish it. So the second movie is my first pick, which is actually Gremlins.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
That's my
I love me some Gremlins. I love this movie so hard because it was the first real cogent Christmas memory I have. Because when
man.
Gremlins came out back in the day, I was very, very young. I was I think it came out in 1984, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
So I was right around 6 years old, and that's really where your formative memories start kicking in. And I remember all the ad campaigns that were coming along with that movie, such as you could go to Hardee's and you could get the little records with the booklets and whatnot. I actually have them. They're only about 6 feet away from me. I could actually go pick them up if I wanted to and show you these old records and whatnot. But I remember asking my parents, can we please make sure I have all these by Christmas? And my folks were like, sure. So I have a complete set. I actually have almost 2 complete sets of all these records and their little booklets and whatnot. But the movie itself, I just remember it being everywhere. I remember, you couldn't go anywhere without a mogwai with a little, Christmas cap on, and that music to me, when you hear it, even though it is so very much an antagonistic song, that meh, 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 it sounds like Christmas music to me, which is psychotic, I know, but it works. And I love the fact that some of my favorite Christmas movies typically tend to be a little bit more on the spooky side. We mentioned Christmas Carol. I can't tell you how many different versions of a Christmas Carol I love. I mean, I'm sure we're going to talk about more of them, but by God, I mean, there are so many versions of that movie, and I love them all. I love the movies that take the feeling of what you want Christmas to be and then turn it on its head. And you have to go through some insane trauma to get to actual Christmas. And then Christmas is fine. Because let's be fair, most of the time, that is an accurate depiction of what life is as you get older with your extended family, right? It's a trauma after trauma after trauma, and then you get presents.
And sometimes you're Phoebe Cates and your dad dies in
Right.
the chimney.
Yeah.
And sometimes your dad has died
In
the
one of the
chimney.
greatest moments of the 1980s.
Yes.
Oh,
Is
my
that in the
Lord.
middle of this movie, she delivers this speech and
Yeah.
she delivers the hell out
So
of it,
good.
but it is
Mhm.
preposterous
Yeah.
and so dark, and
Yes.
it's crazy. It's
Right.
crazy.
And what's funny is that
Uh-oh.
Joe Dante insists that was meant to be a comedic moment. Like, he insists that this was supposed to be a great joke moment, which is why he likes Gremlins 2 more, because he
Because
feels
they
like
send up that moment.
I'll
Right,
name drop.
right,
I'll name
because he
drop. I
feel-
worked with Joe Dante on a movie, and I talked to him about Gremlins 2, and it's still his favorite movie he's ever made.
Right, yeah, and he talks about how Gremlins 2 basically it got the humor, and he feels like it's the more humorous version. And I'm like, but that's what makes Gremlins such a subversive, great Christmas movie, is that, yeah, it can be seen as funny, but the actors are so good in it, and they're taking the source material so seriously that you can't help but be skeeved out by it. And it's like you're holding on for dear life until you get to the end of that movie. I mean, come
That's also
on,
what makes it funny.
Right. That's also what makes it funny, right? The mom fighting the gremlins while that creepy ass record. What was it? It's Burl Ives, right? I think, if I remember correctly.
Probably
Playing in the background.
It's Christmas, so let's say Burl Ives.
Right, it's Burl Ives basically, right? Playing in the background, and like she's fighting off all these freaking critters, basically. While Christmas music is in the background, and eventually she gets basically atomic elbowed by a freaking gremlin in a damn tree. I mean,
that's the scene that
movie.
got us the PG-13 rating.
Basically,
I thought it was the one that opened up his jacket.
It's also the heart in Indiana Jones.
Right, the heart in Indiana Jones is officially what did it. Yeah, but Gremlins is right there. I mean, they're right next door. They're high-fiving on the PG-13.
Yeah, they were both.
Yeah.
Wait, there's a second Indiana Jones movie?
Oh no, don't.
There are three.
There are three Indiana Jones.
There are three in a TV show.
Yeah,
plenty of time to discuss
That's a whole other panel.
That is a whole other.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
Sean,
But
Sean, is this one of the things you're talking about?
Exactly, sir. Yes. See, now I want to go get my record player. I have a whole little do you guys remember that Star Wars mini record player? Basically, I still have mine, and that's what have all of my. I have I got the Black Hole. I got Jungle Book. I got a bunch of Star Wars records, and I have my double collection set of the Gremlins. But I absolutely adore this movie, and for me, Christmas doesn't start until Gremlins ends. So. Which means tomorrow, when I put up my tree, officially Christmas will begin for me. So
nice.
That's got me wanting to watch Gremlins.
Oh, so good.
Very awesome. So let's see. Gary's up next.
All right. Well, I'm gonna kind of keep in the same vein of where we're at, of funny yet still some spooky stuff. But Scrooged with Bill Murray is pretty much my go-to Christmas movie.
Yep.
Because it's a wonderful modern day take on A Christmas Carol. It's a wonderful send-up of television and ratings. Mm-hmm. And Bill Murray was the perfect person to be Scrooge, in that he can completely sell you that jaded, heartless, I don't care, but if you get through the muck, there is that heart of gold in there, and you buy the turnaround. And that for me is what really works, is the scenes where you see everything get to him. Like, sure, there's the funny moments. One of the lines that sticks with me forever is when we're doing the Christmas past, and he's like, it's a set of steak knives. I've never loved a woman enough to give her 9 sharp objects before.
Yep.
But when he finds the one guy frozen to death and it breaks him, and the impassioned speech he gives at the end, on how he's turned around, is like, I almost believe that there wasn't a script there. That felt like it. Murray sells that like that's coming from him personally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just such a fantastic moment. And, Buster Poindexter is the cab driver. Can you get me to New York? Which floor?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Carol Kane beating the crap out of him.
That's the best part. That's the best part.
I love
literally one of the best lines of the whole movie, Gary, is "Bitch hit me with a toaster."
Yes.
Bitch hit me with a toaster.
Yeah, and I love his office, which his last name is Cross in the movie, and the banner going around the whole room of his office is Cross, noun, something you nail people to.
Right. And what's funny, Gary, is apparently that version of the movie is much lighter than what Dick Donner was originally shooting for. Apparently, I've never seen it, but apparently there's a much darker version of this movie. And I'm kind of like, how? Because, I mean, when you get to the Ghost of Christmas Future, I mean, that's pretty freaking dark. When he opens up and there are like souls in his ribcage clawing their way out, I mean, that is not a good look,
Well, yeah, and you have Bobcat Gilwait is going to come into the office and shoot everybody.
Yep.
I mean, it gets real dark.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good though. But I'm so happy that you mentioned Scrooged, because one of the things that I love about this movie was at 10 years old, I saw this in the theater, and I understood what Christmas was before that, as far as kind of like what they were trying to convey. But this was the movie that actually it drilled home for me. And it's because of that speech at the end when Bill Murray completely breaks down. He's like, I get it. You don't have to just have Christmas one day a year. You can go give your neighbor a sandwich. You can go give your friend a blanket. You can have it in your heart every single year. And he's like, and it's a really good feeling. that was it. Like there's a pre and post version of me based on this movie. The pre version of me was Christmas is cool. I get to see my family. What are the presents? The post version of me in that movie is, okay, that's all great, but it's really about being there for one another. And I honestly, God, think more people need to see this movie and really listen to it, because it's one of those great statement pieces that I think that's what art does. It changes people. And I think that more people need to be changed with that kind of message, because there's nothing better than trying to help other people just because it makes you feel good and that it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Doing good feels good.
Yeah.
And it ends on that wonderful song with Annie Lennox and Al Green.
Oh, yeah.
Good song.
But that's
Joe,
mine.
are we allowed to respond to the chat real quick?
Sure.
I just wanted to let Craig in the chat know the reason Emmett Otter isn't on Disney Plus is because Disney doesn't own it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
So it was not part of the deal when Disney bought the Muppets.
Ah.
Yeah.
That's why it's not on there. I think it's on Amazon Prime though.
Oh.
Is it on Prime or is it like Prime to rent? Because people always ask.
Oh, I'm not sure.
We haven't had
I
a
don't
look.
know. But
It's
I'm
worth
not-
renting. It's
It
worth
is
renting.
on
Owned by,
I don't know if
Hit
it's the uncut version or not.
Hit Entertainment is who owns it.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if the online version is the uncut version or not. Because when they put it on VHS, they had to cut Kermit out of the intro because it was a Disney thing. It was they don't have the rights to Kermit, and they also cut a song on the DVD release. So
Redonkulous.
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
Hello. I have so many thoughts going in my head right now, so give me just a second. Because I would love to talk to Chad about the literary merits of Christmas Carol, because I'm a Dickens fangirl.
Sure.
Admittedly so. But I'll leave that for later. I also love Gremlins. Gremlins was one of my choices because it works on a variety of levels. Plus, confession time, I hate Christmas. So seeing a bunch of Halloween is also my preferred holiday. So seeing a bunch of little monsters cheer up Christmas just makes me feel better every year. And when they go caroling is hilarious.
Right, yeah.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
That's my favorite
And then, of
part.
course, they kill Mrs. Deagle,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there is all that. But however, I say that, yet I'm going to bring it back to the sentimentality, just because I'm a black and white film kind of girl myself. So my first choice will always be the original version of Miracle on 34th Street.
Ooh, that's a good pick, yeah.
Nice.
Because I have the world's biggest girl crush on Maureen O'Hara. She's amazing.
Why not?
She is.
I mean,
Her
yes.
story, which is totally inspiring, and her autobiography is one of my favorite books. But she and John Payne have such sparkling, romantic, witty chemistry that you can honestly believe that these people are in love.
Yeah.
And I don't always get that in a lot of romance movies. Sometimes I don't see it. I'm like, what is the point of this? I don't see it. But with them, it's there on the screen. You also have a magnificent performance from Edmund Quinn as Santa Claus. And he is a Santa I could believe in. He made me believe that he was Santa when I was little. I thought he was Santa. And of course, you can't dismiss Natalie Wood.
Yeah.
As a little girl. But sometimes that movie can be a little creepy for me, because then I remember what happened to Natalie Wood. And that was a tragedy, an absolute tragedy. But the reason it's my favorite movie is because it reinforces what, for me, is the meaning of Christmas, which is, you have to believe, you have to have magic. There's magic in the world. You just have to look for it. It's going to come up to you. It's going to find you. And it's a heartwarming movie without being overly sentimental. I mean, it is a little thick in places, but I also really like that they do introduce current elements into it, like the little Dutch girl. Like when Santa starts speaking the Dutch to her, that gets me every time. I break every time. I'm like, okay, the tears are here. Here I go. But so that is my favorite Christmas movie, also because my father introduced me to it. And I'm a nerd by way of my dad, because he introduced me to all my pop culture phenomenon. Like the first movie I ever saw in the theater was The Wrath of Khan. Okay. So,
Good choice.
I love that movie. So he showed me all my nerd properties, and then I picked up my own when I got older. So, but this movie, for that reason, is because it also reminds me of sitting on the couch with my family and just watching this movie. I love this movie. It's perfect. There's hardly ever a flaw in it at all. I would challenge you to find one. There really isn't. The script is sparkling. The dialogue is sparkling. Natalie Wood is extremely good for a child performer, and that's hard to find. Especially when the whole movie is sitting on her little shoulders.
Yeah, exactly.
She does such a good job and such a convincing performance that you can see her transform from doubter to believer.
Yeah. Back in that time, though, and before, child actors had to work. They had to be singers, dancers, actors. You couldn't do the one thing. You had to do all of it right now.
Plus, laxer labor laws, so they actually really had to work. Yeah,
I was about to say that no child labor laws at the time.
So they really had to work.
I mean,
I love that movie.
I was going to say, Mara Wilson did a pretty good job in the 94 remake.
She did.
She did.
But yeah, no, Natalie Wood was just fantastic.
Luminescent. There's always something just luminous about all her movies.
Yeah, it's one of the few, I would say, near perfect movies. It's just a delight.
Yeah,
and it makes you feel
especially
good
from
every
that
time.
era.
Yeah,
because there are a lot of movies from that era that, let's just say, they're hard to watch now. There were some problematic points of them. This one doesn't really have any of that.
No, it really doesn't.
Right.
I mean, you even have inclusivity with the little war orphan, the Dutch girl I was talking about, because he's speaking her language, and that shows you that Santa is for everyone, if you want to believe.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Shaun touched on it for a minute. My first pick is Christmas Vacation.
I was waiting for it. Yeah.
Because the other vacation flicks, the first two, are very funny, but Christmas Vacation somehow is special.
Yeah, it transcends.
Yeah. You don't really think of it as, well, it's the third vacation movie. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
It's Christmas Vacation.
It is.
And there's not a sour note in it. It's everything about Christmas boiled into one awful hour and a half for this poor man who it has the sentimentality also, like when he's trapped in the attic. And the funny thing is that the being trapped in the attic, that has actually happened to me. So all I could think of was, this is Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
It's happening right now to me.
You're like, this is real, man. Yeah.
This is real.
Well, not to mention also the Ray Charles song, that Ray Charles song that plays while he's stuck in the attic. What is it? That Spirit of Christmas, I think, is the name of it. It's got a weird title. I think it's the name, That Spirit of Christmas. I had never heard that song until Christmas Vacation. Now it's one of my favorite moments. Like, I love just listening to Ray Charles just beat that out, because it's basically just him with very minimal orchestration. And it's so powerful and emotional. Like it really draws something up. And if you're watching Clark, I mean, he's crying because he's looking at all the old video movies and stuff. It's so good.
And there's a cast of like 24 people, and all of them are hilarious. No, it's just solid gold. And Brian Doyle Murray, who I had only seen in like 5 minutes of SNL at that point, I thought, well, where'd that guy come from? And no, he is that movie it's must watching for the fam every year, of course. But I could watch it during the year too. It's that good.
My kids are too young, so we don't watch that one around here.
Oh,
it's funny because I love that movie. I don't think it's very good, but I love it in that way. Like, I think that it's a flawed film, but I agreed with everything that you said. But I have the critic in me doesn't love it, but I absolutely love it.
Agreed.
Wouldn't be the Christmas season if the stores were any hotter than they are.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, we're not. This isn't Back to the Future. This is not Citizen Kane. It's just something that you want to watch and make you giggle.
Clark's struggle is very relatable. Chevy's he's a hard guy to love sometimes, but in that role,
this is pre-asshole version of Chevy, though.
No,
but I mean, as far as like our impressions of
there is no pre-asshole Chevy Chase.
But I
Chase
mean, as
was an
far as
asshole in 1975.
But I mean, our impression of him wasn't soured yet.
No,
so
yes, that is.
You were able to imprint on him as a positive Chevy.
Remember, this is the guy who did one season of SNL and said, "Yeah, I'm better than all of you. I'm out." So he's always been kind of a jerk.
We didn't know.
But he is in that role, and then in Fletch, those are his two perfect kind of roles that really take advantage of what he does the best. And
See, I love him in Funny Farm, but that's me.
Funny Farm
Funny
is
Farm's
almost
great,
Funny Farm is almost the same character though, which is why it works.
Yeah.
Which I love Funny Farm.
I hope you've enjoyed our
Yellow Dog
mini panel.
that too.
I started. It's my fault.
Anyone want to talk about what's yeah? Go ahead.
I mean, we can talk about things that make you cry now.
Why not? Why
Sure.
do we Okay, go.
Lindsay Ellis said everything I have to say about Rent.
Lindsay Ellis. Oh,
Yes.
fair enough. No, I love Rent because, and it takes place on Christmas, 2 Christmases actually, and it's I don't know. There's something about Rent that's just really super seminal, especially for people my age who got kind of trapped in that. You know, we grew up initially, we didn't have computers, and then we had this massive tech boom, and so we're all kind of still scrambling. I think they're referring to us as older millennials now.
Zennials.
We're called Zennials, yeah.
Or
Zennials.
Zennials or
Yeah.
whatever, but it kind
Gen
of...
X till I die. Gen X till I die.
I was gonna say, whatever happened to Generation Y?
That's a Zennial. That's
That's
who we are.
That's
millennials.
They
right.
changed,
Okay.
Millennials.
they changed your name.
Yeah, so... But I mean,
I
as
think
someone-
I'm just old fart at this point.
That's fun. Yeah, that works.
yeah, Joe. We know. It's okay. We still love you.
We just
He's
stay
like, I know where
downwind.
you live.
We just make you stay downwind.
Yeah.
Have you been talking to my family? Why? What?
Okay, see, now I just have the Lion King playing in my head, so...
Bethany, continue. So Rent. Okay.
So, Rent. I was gonna say, so but yeah, no, Rent, as someone who doesn't necessarily fall on your straight gay binary, and as someone who's disabled, the movie means a lot to me for a lot of different reasons. So yeah.
Okay.
Alison.
All right, so I have another one that's going to make everyone cry, but it also falls into the whole. This is what happens when I follow someone's IMDb. I was joking in the chat about how I was going to bring up a Lifetime movie, and this is a Lifetime Christmas movie. It's called Heaven Sent, and it has this one I found because Christian Kane is in it. Who, you know, Lindsay from Angel, and he's also in Elliot and Leverage, and sada sada.
The librarians.
Yep. But
Jinx, Elizabeth.
yeah. But
Jinx. We both said librarians. Continue.
He's Lindsay from Angel. Let's just
Yeah.
he's Lindsay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Wait. So this movie is about and this is where the serious part is that the couple is getting a divorce after she's miscarried a child, and they're having a hard time going through it. And so this little girl, this little blonde, 5-6-year-old appears, and they take her in, and she kind of brings back their love for each other while also, just getting them involved in the holiday spirit. And there are some really great comedic moments within here, especially because Christian Kane is a giant dork when he's allowed to be. So you get this beautiful movie, and I'm not going to spoil the ending, but there is a really happy, bright ending to it after you do a whole lot of ugly crying.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
That's my next. That's my
Allison,
third.
thank
nothing
you
on that
for
one.
going deep.
Yeah, I got nothing on that.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Oh yeah, no.
I know Lindsay from Angel. That's where you had me, and then I don't know anything else.
Oh, Christian's
It also
a
has
great
Barry
actor. You
Shitlow.
have
No, I know. I watched Leverage too.
Well,
Jake
no,
from the
you have to actually go
librarians.
catch some of his actual movies too that he's
Okay.
done like
Yeah,
this,
I've seen
because he's really versatile.
Yeah, I like him. Yeah.
And I just googled it. Also has Marley Shelton in it from like Sugar and Spice and
Oh, yeah.
what Planet
Yeah.
Terror
Yeah,
and whatnot. So,
and Ernie Hudson actually has a minor role in it too. So
That's all you need.
Well, if he had a major role, you'd have me at that because I love me some Ernie Hudson, as we've talked about on Ghostbusters. I will show up for Ernie Hudson Oh,
The
yeah.
problem is he probably
The
showed up
Crowe.
for a major role and then it got cut down in the process.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
don't kill.
Oh.
Oh, shots fired.
Not a shot fired. I love
but
Ernie
shots
Hudson. I'm
fired.
just stating
Yeah.
a fact.
It's just
So
what
they were
happens.
accurate
Just
shots,
around
but
now.
they were still fired.
Still a fact.
Okay, Chad.
Okay.
All right. So the second one that popped in my brain, I don't want to talk about because it's The Ref, and I love that movie.
Oh, I love the ref.
But I'm not going to talk
That's on
about
my
it, Kevin.
little list.
Unfortunately, to me, it's unwatchable because of Kevin Spacey now.
I'm with you. I'm
Oh.
100% with you.
I love that movie, but there are certain movies like I'll be able to watch Seven because he plays a serial killer, and that's completely fine. But
And Brad Pitt shoots him in the end.
yeah, and any movie where I'm supposed to like care about him is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also kind of wanted to bring up. I mean, I can't believe we went around and nobody said Die Hard. I'm kind of relieved, but
I thought it was too obvious.
no, exactly. That's why I'm glad.
I figured somebody else would already do it, so I didn't
Right.
bother.
Exactly.
Somebody's got to.
So, and I would like to quickly call out mine will be a little, is the brilliance of Tim Burton of creating a movie that is a viable holiday movie for 3 months,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Which is
that's it.
so smart with Nightmare Before Christmas. And to me, but the one I wanted to bring up, it's kind of weird, but it's Batman Returns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim Burton movies to me and Danny Elfman scores to me make me think, and also Edward Scissorhands kind of falls into the same category. But Batman Returns takes place at Christmas. It's not the best Batman movie. It's nowhere close to the best Batman movie, but it's, I don't know. Burton does a really good job with the snow and Elfman's score to go along with it. And it's not a movie that makes me think of Christmas. It's not a movie about the Christmas spirit. It's a movie that makes me feel Christmas. It makes me feel winter. I remember when I was still living in Georgia, I was driving to my job at a video store and it started snowing and I was listening to the score. And it was the most kind of magical winter moment I'd ever have because of that. So I actually think early Burton kind of falls in that category for me. But if I had to pick one, I'd say Batman Returns. It's got it's got mistletoe. It's got the lighting of the Christmas tree, and it also happens to have Michelle Pfeiffer in a skin tight outfit. But it's, I don't know, that's what popped into my head. Was I heard Danny Elfman in my head when I think Christmas is for some reason, and it comes from those movies. But really, it's just the marketing genius of Nightmare Before Christmas. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, no, but seriously, I mean, as far as Batman Returns go, the only ding I ever gave Batman Returns as a kid was that it came out in June. And I really think that Warner Brothers should have held on to that for like a Thanksgiving release,
yeah,
like make
should
it
be a holiday movie.
It should have been released during the holidays, because I thought it was weird that I was completely into this Christmas movie, but it wasn't Christmas time yet.
Yeah, you come outside and it's 98 and sunny.
Right, it never quite jammed up. Shazam had the same problems. I think that movie came out like in May or something like that, and it's basically a Christmas movie. But the thing I loved about Batman Returns, though, is that you're absolutely right. It does the heavy lifting of making things feel cold. Danny Elfman has a really great way of composing music that feels Christmassy, as you said with Edward Scissorhands and Nightmare Before Christmas and whatnot. But what I thought was also really great about this was it's my favorite of that generation of Batman movies, because of the fact that it also broke the code on how you can give pathos to your hero, as far as you really start to kind of peel back the layers and you see that he's a much more human character, and he's broken and whatnot, but he's trying to make himself better. And then they also broke the code on how you can have two villains in the movie and it not feel cheesy.
Three
Penguin
villains.
and Catwoman.
Three.
Three
Well,
villains.
yeah, if you count
You're
Max
forgetting
Shrek, yeah.
Max Shrek.
Yeah,
sorry.
that's true. But I'm talking like super villains. I'm talking like full capes and everything. Even though, let's be fair, Christopher Walken in that wig, that's a costume.
That's its own podcast.
Yeah, I mean Max Shrek right alone, right? Yeah.
One of the reasons I love this movie is each villain is a facet of Batman, but darker. Max Shrek is Bruce Wayne gone bad. The Penguin is Batman gone bad.
Right.
Catwoman is the Avenger of the Night side. It's all three mirror him in different ways.
I love Keaton in that movie because there's a moment where him and Michelle Pfeiffer are on the couch making out, and the way Keaton played Bruce Wayne the whole time was distracted. That he's always thinking about something else. And I'm watching him. He's got, in my opinion, at the time, one of those beautiful women in the world on the couch with him. And you could tell that's the last thing he's thinking about. It's such a wonderful performance where his brain is always doing something else. In that movie. I think that movie is a little too long and a little clunky, but yes, I love.
He's
thinking about justice.
No, he was thinking about
He's
Michelle
trying to figure.
Pfeiffer's role in Grease 2, going, why did she do Grease 2?
Oh,
Why?
don't be
Why
careful.
Grease?
Be careful.
No, I love Grease 2, actually. I do.
I don't care about Grease 2, but there are some people out there that's like stepping on a bear.
Oh, no, but actually, I really like Grease 2, but I know that people like to make fun of it. So, you know.
Let's bowl, let's rock and roll.
I got a bowl tonight, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Shaun.
Yo, okay. So instead of going for, I'm going to stay off kilter a little bit. And there are a lot of movies I want to pick. I want to pick something. One of my favorite subgenres that very rarely get noticed is the horror Christmas genre. And there are a lot of them out there. And I know a lot of people are immediately going to go to probably the most recent one, which would be Krampus. Everybody's going to go, oh, Krampus is, great. Krampus is fantastic. If you've not seen it, go watch it. So good. But I was sitting here thinking about it, and I was going through all the different versions of these great horror movies that I could think of, and one that I keep coming back to, and it's constantly ringing in the back of my head lately, is this one movie called Anna and the Apocalypse. And it's actually a trifecta. It's not only a horror movie, it's not only a Christmas movie, it's also a musical. And it is a really it's a crazy story about basically a girl in high school who is trying to get through the Christmas season when the zombie apocalypse breaks out in her little tiny British town, and her and her family and the rest of the town and community, either they're zombies or they're trying to survive the zombies. And there are musical numbers, and it's people like to compare it to Shaun of the Dead, and I'm like, okay, it is Shaun of the Dead-esque. Because it's zombies and it's British, but that's kind of where the similarities stop.
I was gonna say, Shaun of the Dead is not a musical.
It's not remotely a musical. It has music in it, but it's not a musical.
But it's a funny zombie movie, so people.
But it's a funny zombie movie, right? But
this
for
is a
me,
bad comp.
Yeah,
it's a rom-zom-com.
Nice.
A rom-zom-com musical. There's a lot.
No.
But there is so many elements in this movie. If you've not seen it, it landed with a splash about 2 years ago, and people really kind of globbed onto it. And then I haven't heard of anybody checking this flick out since then. Has anybody else watched it?
I thought I was the only one who knew about it.
Okay.
It's on my list to check out.
You really need to watch this movie. It is very well shot. It's got a ton of noticeable actors in it. As soon as you watch it, you're going to check it out, or you're going to notice and be like, "Oh, great, I love them." The music itself is very cookie cutter. That's probably the one ding I'll give to it, which is when you watch musicals, they always have those kind of by the number tunes. It does a lot of by the number pieces, but they're still enjoyable. Right, to advance the plot, but it's still enjoyable, and they do have about 3 really great breakout songs that will make you truly enjoy this movie. So if you haven't had it or haven't had a chance to see it yet, go check it out. And the only reason why I mentioned this one is because I felt that because I know we're the classics track, and I know this movie only came out a few years ago, we were focusing on Christmas. I felt that I could slide it in.
Oh, yeah.
However, if we had to talk about a classic Christmas horror movie, you can't go wrong with Black Xmas, which I think came out in 2000, 2001, something like that. So we're right at the cusp
classic?
of it.
Is that classic?
And then,
are we that old? Is that classic?
Yeah, we're that old.
20 years is the litmus for the track.
Okay.
There's the original one from the 70s.
For the 70s with Margot Kidder in it, right? You can go all the way back to that one. I personally like the first remake. They just made it again just last year.
It's
Black
not good.
Christmas.
It was terrible.
My opinion, go watch the original 70s one. That one is literally like one of the great slasher movies ever. And it is completely worth your time. It still rips. But for me, actually, my favorite version of that story is actually Black Xmas. And check that out. And that one comes in under the wire, I think, for the classics. But again, my pick would definitely be Anna and the Apocalypse. It's so much fun. It is a hoot. So if you like British movie, if you like British cinema, if you love zombie movies, if you like some comedy in there, and you want a little bit of a musical time, and not to take the season too seriously, that's your bag.
Okay.
Cool.
And next up, Gary.
All right, so a lot of the ones on my list, other people have already mentioned. Nightmare Before Christmas, Batman Returns, Krampus just got the shout out.
Shout out Krampus, man! Go for Krampus.
Oh yeah, I love Krampus, but I'm actually going to go with one that solidified a movie opinion I had for the longest time, I think a lot of actors will do a Christmas movie because it's a way to guarantee one movie of yours that's going to be played every year. And that's Jingle All the Way, when Schwarzenegger decided to do a Christmas movie.
Oh my
No.
God.
When Sinbad decided to do a Christmas movie. Sinbad is
Sinbad
top
is
billing in that film.
Sinbad is a sick man in that movie.
Oh,
Yes.
He's not well.
But
He's not.
it is, Arnold does a certain type of comedy really well.
Yeah.
And this is in that vein.
Yeah.
It's the whole, everybody can identify, anybody with kids can identify with trying to get that one toy that the kid wants. And just, it's the right amount of ludicrous.
Got to get that toy
That
for
you're-
little Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. And
Elmo.
and it was, and I had a friend who had to go out and get a Turbo Man, and he kept it in the living room when we were roommates. He's like, I gotta have my Turbo Man.
Can I point out real quick one of
Sure.
the things I love about that movie? I don't think it's I don't watch it very often, but one thing about that movie is I love movies where they just ignore the fact that Schwarzenegger is like a 6'4" Austrian bodybuilder,
Right.
and he just plays an all-American dad.
Right.
Yes.
He did that in so many movies. They did that in movies where he's obviously he's not from there. Obviously, there's something going on with this guy. They just flat out ignore it.
Right.
That's great.
It's great. He's just a dude from the suburbs. And you're like, you are not just a dude from the suburbs.
This is cover ID.
I never noticed that because in most of
Well,
those
you
Because he's
never
so
noticed that
naturalistic.
Schwarzenegger's not a
Because
guy
he's
from
such
the
a
suburbs?
naturalistic actor.
That just never occurred to you that Schwarzenegger's not from the suburbs?
like in most of those movies, like with him and Jean-Claude Van Damme, there's always this weird throwaway line where they explain where they're from
They
and
never do
why
that,
they're in
Schwarzenegger.
America.
Yeah.
He's from the Austrian version of Michigan. He's from
Yeah.
that section of Michigan.
Well, okay.
Okay, I
so-
love it when they actually did it both with Kindergarten Cop.
Yes.
Yes.
Where
Yes,
they tried to
that
play the guy in the
Yeah.
suburbs.
Just all American dad Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Universe Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So I have a funny story about Jingle All the Way.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Okay.
I spent my wild, fun teenage years growing up in Brazil. So,
Mhm.
as most of you know, and most of the viewers know. So, I actually had to use Jingle All the Way to explain what Black Friday was to a bunch of my
Ooh.
Brazilian friends.
Oh.
Because Brazilians, they don't do Christmas the way Americans do Christmas, which is great. I actually prefer their Christmas because it's slightly saner.
Mhm.
And it's more tailored to my night owl tendencies. So, yeah, but yeah, no, I had to use that movie because I'm like, okay, so you remember Jingle All the Way? I'm like that, but like everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah, but it's just like a lot of the movies we've mentioned, they're not a great movie, but they're a fun movie, so you can enjoy it.
But that's kind of
It's like-
Christmas movies in
yeah.
general, right? Christmas movies
Yeah.
rely on nostalgia and a lot of emotional pathos to kind of, gum over the cracks of the plot. Like you can forgive a
Mhm.
lot when it comes to a Christmas movie, but if that same movie was trying to stand on its own merits, it just crumbles under its own weight.
Mhm.
And I think Jingle All the Way is a very good example
Yes.
of it just crumbling on its own weight. I mean, seriously, how the hell does Rita Wilson not recognize her husband in like freaking red span? I don't care what
Like-
the modulators doing. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
The kid, he's in the suit, and the kid's like, Turbo Man knows my name. I'm like, are there other Austrians in your town?
Right, like Turbo Man's clearly not Austrian. That's your dad, dude. Like,
This isn't my joke, but How Did This Get Made? The podcast did an episode about it a long
Yeah.
time ago, and they like to point out that why would you make a movie where the whole thing is him trying to get a Turbo Man doll, and he is incapable of saying the word Turbo Man?
Turbo Man.
Yeah.
It's like when I lived in when it was like in California, he couldn't say the name of the state. He's
Right.
capable of saying Turbo Man.
Yeah, but
It's crazy.
the one thing that's wrong with this movie though is that there are certain things that they're still funny as long as you know they're joking. But like there are some bits in this movie that have not aged well. Like when Sinbad basically like pulls out a package and says it's a bomb and throws it at the cops. You're like,
I don't know.
and then later on there
Seems
actually is
relevant.
a bomb, and he's like, that was really a bomb. Like
Seems timely.
there's some like he's like, these people are sick. These people are sick. They put a bomb in the middle. I could have blown up. Now, granted, Sinbad makes it hilarious because he's Sinbad, but
Yeah.
I mean, he literally takes a kid and like dangles him from like a 10-story freaking building from a backpack.
Next time you
Yeah.
watch that movie, watch it with your own headcanon that Sinbad actually doesn't have a kid.
Oh,
Ooh,
and he
Just watch it
wants
with
the
that in
toy.
mind.
he's a toy collector.
There's some sad story there.
Scalper.
Just imagine that
Yeah,
he
he's
just have a kid when you
like
watch it.
100 times creepier
Exactly.
and also more realistic.
Yes.
So Elizabeth,
Hi. Say hello. Hex says hello. She's the cat currently photobombing. She's right here.
Hello.
Oh, hey, Katie.
I'm gonna be that girl because I have to be. I always am. Chad was talking about a Muppet Christmas Carol, and every time he said it was the best, I was going, George C. Scott would like a word.
Sure.
Because my favorite version of A Christmas Carol was done for the BBC in 1984, and it stars the incomparable George C. Scott, the only man who could turn down an Oscar twice.
oh,
Twice. Yeah, he said no, I don't want it. Once for Patton, and I can't remember the other one. But
Yeah, you and my dad. That's his favorite Christmas movie. We watch it on Christmas Eve every year.
again, that was my dad who showed it to me.
Yeah.
So
Since I was like about 4.
Alistair Sim for the win.
That's what my dad says as well. And that's also what my co-teacher says. We were talking about this today at work. But it's my favorite because it condenses everything, but it doesn't leave too much out, that you still get it. And I prefer my Christmas carols on the darker side because, again, Dickens wrote it as a tale of redemption.
Yeah.
And there's no reclamation without the dark.
Yeah.
You know, it's the long night of the soul. It's Dante with Virgil going through, the Inferno. And you have to have that to get to the happy ending. And George C. Scott's performance is perfect.
Oh,
He's nasty. He's unpleasant. But you can almost kind of feel a little bit for him because you can see the way things went.
oh yeah, his performance in that is absolutely stellar. They cast that movie perfectly. It's just, I know that movie is extremely terrifying.
Yeah.
Especially when you get to the Ghost of Christmas Present, and he just goes from his jolly to his manic side, and you're just like,
I love it.
And yeek.
I love it. But
Yeah.
and also it's the BBC, and no one does period better than the BBC.
True.
Well, they've still got it from the original release.
Everything, the costuming is accurate, and that's a big deal with me because I'm a Victoriana person. That's my genre. That's my jam. The costuming is accurate. When they take you through the market and they show you what it's actually like,
Yeah.
you rarely ever see that in a movie about Victoriana. Everything looks pretty and clean and sparkly. No, that market was nasty, and you were probably going to get food poisoning.
Yep.
Also, if you're a Doctor Who fan, it's kind of funny who plays young Scrooge. It's Mark Strickson, who played Turlough to the Fifth Doctor, who's my favorite Doctor. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, Turlough, quit messing up Christmas. But but no, it's perfect, and it is very frightening. And I believe the Christmas Carol has to be frightening because the Victorian tradition was to tell ghost stories at Christmas time.
Yeah.
You would sit around the fire and scare the crap out of each other, and it was entertainment.
So thank you, because that's what they're talking about. That's what Andy Williams is talking about in that song.
Yes.
Yes.
Scary stories. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And Charles Dickens also wrote another not as famous Christmas novella called The Bells, I think. I can't remember what it's called. I'll have to look it up. I'm having a brain fart.
Yeah.
But it's equally creepy, but it's slightly more fantastic than A Christmas Carol. And I like A Christmas Carol because it is grounded in reality. We all have that long, dark moment of the soul, We all have that. And hopefully we come out better on the other side. And I just love their Marley gives me chills every time.
Oh yeah, that Marley
Every time. Man of the worldly mind. I mean, he just sells it. It's fantastic.
And everybody wants to have a boss like Mr. Fezziwig.
Yeah, party time.
Yeah.
Put it down. Put it down.
It is time to party. Yeah. But it's my favorite for those reasons. It's a sentimental favorite. And a bit of cross-pollination here, though. Every time I see Christmas Future, I'm like, is that where J.K. Rowling got the Dementors from? Because that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
It's the same look in the Muppet version, to be fair.
Yeah.
Very similar as well.
That was the scariest part of the Muppet version for me, by the way, was Future. And that's the way it should be, because the future is supposed to be frightening because you don't know what it holds.
Exactly. Yeah. I know, having grown up with seeing that all my life. Yeah. No, I like A Christmas Carol. But if you gave me a choice, I would go for the Muppets Christmas Carol because it at least allows me to sleep easier.
Right.
Because George C. Scott's A Christmas Carol when you're 4 is kind of terrifying.
It didn't scare me as much as Gremlins did at the time.
Yeah, does he put anybody in a blender or a garbage disposal?
Oh,
No,
microwave.
that doesn't. That
The
is not as creepy as
microwave.
Gremlins.
No.
Not as
See,
crazy as
see,
Microwave.
I was too
Microwave.
young. I was too young for Gremlins, but I was not too young for A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, that's fair.
thought they
You
kind
were.
of
They just
heavy.
didn't realize it. See, that's the
Yeah.
problem.
Like,
Is that you really are too young for A Christmas Carol until you get like 8 or 9 years old. I mean, seriously, Christmas Carol is like legit terrifying, you know. But when you're showing like a 5-year-old, like, oh, but it's teaching you the value of Christmas. You're like, what? That ghosts are going to come and kick my ass?
They don't get
Like,
that.
No.
oh,
No.
though I will say there's one thing we actually haven't touched on. Like no one has touched on it
Uh-oh.
yet, and it's the Boris Karloff version of The Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
Mm.
Oh, see, I thought we were talking movies, and
That's
not
too
TV
short.
specials, or not TV
Yeah,
specials.
we'll-
So
we're-
that was my
we're
question
doing
because I have
another
TV
thing on
specials
stuff like
too.
that.
But
I was gonna say because I've always counted that as a movie.
Yeah.
That's why I asked. That's why I asked Gary about the George C. Scott thing. I'm like, can I have that?
yeah,
Yeah.
But it was done as a TV movie.
Yeah, I mean,
Movie length stuff is what we're. Well, so let's do this. Let's. I did want to mention Die Hard
Yes.
mainly,
well, of course.
of course. But I walked in to breakfast this morning, and my wife is my wife and my child. I say child. She's 17. But they're sitting at the breakfast table, and my wife goes, "Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I don't
Yes.
care what anyone says."
Ooh.
And the fact that I walk into the middle of this conversation means that my wife has decided to die on a hill,
So
and
and
that's it. That's the one.
I'm very.
I'm proud.
I don't know. It's a movie that takes place at Christmas.
Well, Die Hard 1 and Die
Yeah.
Hard 2 are both
They-
Christmas.
oh, both
movies.
Christmas movies, yeah.
If you consider it a Christmas movie and you like watching it on Christmas, it's a Christmas movie.
I do.
It is.
because-
It is a movie about a gang of criminals pretending to be terrorists that hijack a building and the cop that tries to stop them. That is what it is
Yes.
about. It is not a Christmas movie. But if you enjoy it on Christmas because of its Christmas trappings,
Hey, you know,
awesome. So it's a Christmas movie. But to me, it's not really a Christmas movie.
But you know, but it's also about a man and a wife coming back together and rekindling their love in a bout of trauma. A man
Thank
who has
you.
not been able to overcome
It's a man
his
who goes
own
to his
dark moment and is redeeming himself, but from
And-
shooting a child.
But you know why
There's-
that movie? Do you know why that movie takes place at Christmas though? One, because it's Shane Black. Or no, sorry, that's not Shane Black. That's Lethal
It's
Weapon.
not Shane Black, you know.
It's the reason it takes place at Christmas is it's convenient for the plot that's when John would see her for the first time after she'd been gone a while, that he would visit her at Christmas.
If they were gutsier, they'd have been at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, but
We don't
and
travel for
it's a
Thanksgiving.
heartwarming ending.
It does.
It's a heartwarming ending with the hugs and you know the not snow and all of that. It's lovely. It's wonderful.
And Ryan's Joe, highlight Ryan's comment there.
Thank you.
Everybody's been stuck with an Ellis. Everybody's been stuck with an Ellis at a party.
Right,
every once in a
right,
while.
Exactly.
But
Let's do this. Let's do one lightning round of pick a movie that that's on your list that we haven't mentioned, and we'll just kind of do a Zoom lightning round.
Okay.
And Bethany.
Shazam.
Hey!
Okay.
Yes.
Shazam.
I love that.
Love
movie.
Shazam. So good.
Yeah, it's
Allison?
really good.
All right, so I'm gonna follow Chad with the Muppets, but going with the
Oh,
That's
second
my
one.
favorite.
Nice,
That's my
yeah.
favorite Christmas special of all time.
Oh yeah, because
Nice.
you've got Fraggles, you've got Sesame Street, and you've got the Muppets.
It's also freaking hysterical.
Yeah.
Legitimately
So-
funny.
The only mega Muppet crossover. It's like
It also has my favorite moment because Jim Henson shows up at the end
Yeah.
Oh.
in it, and it's so moving. It's one of his
Yeah.
last on-screen appearances.
And I was going to
Oh.
say, I can go on all day
Yeah.
about Muppets in Christmas.
nice.
Chad?
Chad.
So I was gonna say Muppet Christmas, the Muppet Family Christmas. I'm gonna go with, depending on my mood, 35 to 45% of Love Actually.
Okay,
Oh,
fair.
wow.
It's a
Okay.
like, I don't love all
Yeah.
the stories, but Liam Neeson, the little kid, always gets me. And it
Bill
depends.
Nye.
And it depends. Bill Nye's great. It just depends on the mood I'm in. But I'd say 30. It said depend 35 to maybe 55% of Love Actually.
Mm.
Yeah.
The Alan
Chad,
Rickman
get out of
stuff-
my brain.
Sorry.
It's dark and scary in there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't.
Flashlight.
Mm.
Sean.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, I'm
flashlight.
actually,
Okay.
Right. So I'm actually going to use two real quick. The first one is, and I don't think anybody's going to agree with me on this one, and that's okay because I will die on this hill alone, which is a Harold and Kumar Christmas. Don't care.
I'm down.
That freaking movie
You're not
cracks me
alone.
up.
I don't have the DVD of yet.
Oh my god, I had the DVD. It's actually a DVD Blu-ray combo. And I
Wow, it's a throwback.
it's a throwback, but I love the hell out of that movie. It is so much fun. It's so stupid, and you gotta love it alone for the NPH Christmas like whole extravaganza. It's amazing. But the other one that I want to mention actually came out last year, and it completely blindsided me, which is the Disney Plus movie Noelle.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if
I have not watched
Anna
that yet.
Kendrick.
No, it's good.
with Anna Kendrick. It is really good. It's basically about Santa's daughter. Like basically Santa has a son and they always pass down the Santa to the next person. And basically Santa's son doesn't want to do it. And he runs off to the Bahamas I think it's California actually. And Noelle, which is the daughter, has to go back and try to bring him home. It's fantastic. It's phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, it's so much fun. But those would be my two.
I can't watch that one.
Yeah.
I can't. It's I
That's
have a
okay.
person. No, it's a Bill Hader is used to be a very old friend of mine, and I have a hard time watching him on screen because it feels weird. It just feels like home movies to me. I have a very hard time watching him. So I don't.
He's
watch
kind of
movies.
Santa-esque, so you
No, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's just weird. It's just I avoid his movies, which is
fair
not
enough.
not fair to him. Just weird to me.
Got it.
Gary.
Well, the only ones that we haven't mentioned because we've hit pretty much everything on my list except for these last two that I'm going to throw out. One, just because it's absolutely silly. It's a horrible movie, but it's got a scene which became a meme, which is Silent Deadly Night Part 2, Garbage Day.
Garbage Day. Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
so bad.
Horrible movie. Horrible movie. But Christmas. And It's a Wonderful Life. Sure, it's cheesy. Yeah. Sure, it's Frank Capra at his most Frank Capra, but it does have genuine heart. Jimmy Stewart is a legend for a reason, and I think it still works.
It's a dark movie too. We were talking about.
Oh yeah,
Carol. It's Wonderful Life is a dark film.
Again, going through the dark to get to the light.
Yeah, I was gonna say which version of Wonderful Life, but then you said Capra, so I'm like, oh, okay, the good version.
Yes, so there is no other version. Well, yeah, the Muppets did. Did they?
They did the Very Merry Muppet Christmas movie. Well, has a scene where Kermit goes on a rant about how he wishes he was never born. Anyone should watch that movie because it's got a scene where they go to a club and Scooter is dancing in a cage and Santa Eagle is tripping on ecstasy with a pacifier in his mouth. It is with glow sticks. It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was high the first time I saw that movie. I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. Sorry. Go ahead.
And Elizabeth.
Okay. I joke about having multiple personalities, so I have two. First, if we're going for pure comfort films, I love The Santa Claus. I watch that one every year. It's Tim Allen at his most Tim Allen. You got to be able to take that. But there's also some really genuine heart and some really genuine good movies. And I love the fact, being part of a blended family, I love the fact that they're able to represent that the parents can finally work together and they can include Neil and everything. And there's just some beautiful visuals. The North Pole is gorgeous. I want to live there. And
Bernard is my homie.
Yes. I'm like, wait, he's not doing math, because he was on a show called Numbers. And and I really love it. It's comfort food. It's the comfort food version of a movie for me. The other one, because I'm me, I'm about to drag us down into the sewer, not the gutter, because the gutter's too high class for me. Bad Santa. Bad Santa. I love you, but live off Thornton. That movie is so wrong, but you got to understand, I hate Christmas. It's too sweet for me. It's too sweet for me. I am not a sweet person. And everyone's like, I do the world and all happy, and I can't do it. I can't take it anymore. So when it comes too much, I just pop that on there, and it's so infinitely quotable if you're in a room full of adults. It is just quotable, and it's fun, and it's a character with no redeeming value whatsoever. And I like those types just for the sheer entertainment value of them, just because I suppose it's a little part of my id wandering around. Like, look, they're doing whatever they want, and that's fantastic. And it's just very funny, and it's a great antidote if you're just fed up to the gills with all the holding hands, Christmas cookies, Hallmark movies, sacchariness of this holiday.
One movie that I wanted to mention that I think is going to end up being something that people watch over and over every year is, and I'm breaking the classic track rule, but
I did too.
Christmas Chronicles
Yes.
with Kurt Russell
Yes.
is really good.
It's fun.
It's Kurt Russell-y. It's
Wow.
Kurt
It's on our
Russell-y.
list. We haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I was about to say, Bethany, did we see that yet?
No, we haven't
Well,
seen that yet.
the second one just
Oh.
came out, and I
The
don't.
I haven't
second one
seen
just
the
came
second
out,
one
yeah.
yet.
But it's very Kurt Russell-y, and he's pretty much just playing.
How's his hair?
Oh, it's
sorry.
hilarious.
When you say Kurt Russell, I just
No,
think
no,
the
no. It's
gorgeous
Snake
mane that he's had
Plissken-y.
for 40 years.
He's got his Snake Plissken-y going on and whatnot. And every single time somebody asks him why isn't he fat, he gets so pissed off. It's a whole gag in the first movie. I'm telling you, no, Joe is absolutely right. You need to watch this movie. It is
It's
fun.
perfect.
It
It's so
is.
funny.
No, his hair as Santa is glorious.
Uh-huh.
It is amazing. No, it's solid stuff, and there's a musical break in the middle of it where
Yep.
Kurt sings. It's just excellent.
People forget he played Elvis.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You know,
trying to forget he
it's
played
true.
Elvis.
But
Has anyone
Joe,
seen the second one yet?
I haven't seen the second one yet, but
yeah, I haven't seen the second one yet either, but I heard it's actually pretty good. My friends who have seen it have actually said you're going to really like the second one if you like the first one, so I'm excited for it. But Joe, you mentioned one that I wanted to shout out real quick because you mentioned Santa, and I actually ran across this movie a few years ago. And again, I'm not going with the happy stuff, so Elizabeth, this one's right up your alley.
Thank you.
It's an anthology movie. It's called The Christmas Horror Story.
Nice.
And if you have not seen this movie, it actually is bookended by this incredible tale of basically somebody losing their mind in the middle of a Black Friday Christmas rush. And what you basically have is you have that, and then you have a story of Santa Claus actually fighting Krampus at the North Pole because Krampus is trying to take over the North Pole. And then there are basically 3 bookend stories. There's one about a Wendigo, and then there's other little stories that are in there. And the twist at the end, I swear, I have watched way too many horror sci-fi genre movies. We've talked about this before. I did not see this happening until it happened, and I went, no. And then I immediately went and rewatched the movie, and I was like, oh, they set that up so beautifully. It's one of those moments. And for those of you who just need a little bit of Shatner in your life, Shatner does this nice little radio DJ monologue over joining all the scenes together. So if you need a little Shatner in your Christmas as well.
Is it on Shudder or?
It was on Netflix for the longest time. I haven't looked lately, but now that you've asked, I should go and look and see.
That sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, but it's called The Christmas Horror Story. And I wasn't expecting a lot. I just put it on because I was like, well, let's see if it's going to be any good. Let me see. I'm looking it up right now, see if I can find it. It looks like it is no longer on Netflix, so you might have to do a little digging for it. I'm sorry. But it was on Netflix until last year.
I have my ways. I'll find it.
But
this is a safe one to throw out. But if you happen to be a fan of The Mandalorian or Iron Man, Elf is a fun movie.
Oh yeah,
I thought you were going to suggest Mandalorian as a Christmas movie. I'm like, yes, do that.
Well, I'll be watching that too. But all I want for Christmas is it is. Elf is a very solid, really well done movie.
Elf is like a sequel to the Rankin Bass movies.
Kind of, yeah. I think Favreau was inspired by the spirit of those, but Farrell can work for me sometimes, not work for me other times. Like a lot of people, but the innocence that he plays, his excitement when they're at the mall and they see Santa, and I know him like that. Yeah. That stuff plays really well. And
it's also very quotable. Another one of those ones.
It is very quotable and pretty funny.
Also, there's one that we didn't bring up at all. The Star Wars Holiday Special.
For a reason.
We're going to have to table that.
Happy. That's for the Star Wars track, so...
Wait. But what about the newest one?
The new one.
That one was good.
I thought that was pretty cute.
I thought Allison was going to go to the dreaded Home Alone, actually.
It's great. The first Home Alone is great. The second one does not exist.
If you take Trump out of the second
That's
one,
the problem.
the second one's my favorite.
The second one's actually better. The only reason the second Home Alone isn't considered better is the first Home Alone exists because it's the same movie.
And it was such a phenomenon.
Yeah, it's the exact same movie. They just did it a little better the second time, but because the first one exists, you're like, it's just kind of the same movie.
Now,
that was funny.
All right.
There's a Home Alone box set, and we'll stop.
Ooh, the third one, huh?
There's a Home Alone box set.
There's a
with
fourth one too.
Oh, is there?
multiple Home Alone extra movies. There's a 3 and a 4. And they are not the McAllister family. They are not connected, and they're not very good. But you get the first 2 in the box set.
But you know what's a fun fact about the, or not a fun fact, but just a weird thing about it is in Home Alone 2, which I enjoy a lot too, is the homeless lady that Kevin helps out. I always, in my brain, I always imagine she's the same character from Mary Poppins, the Feed the Birds lady. So like she's like as magical as Mary Poppins. She's just jumping around from like really big park to really big park and whatnot. And so like I try to find more movies with like, just some kind of like, middle aged, getting into her 60s, lady who likes to feed the birds. And I just want to imagine it's all the same character in like 16 different movies.
They also both have my girlfriend Catherine O'Hara in them, and I'm okay with it.
Oh, yes.
Mwah.
I
Lovely.
love her.
Guys,
Bethany, where can people find you?
Yes, Bethany.
DeegeGreg.com, because I write and kick around on the internet under my pen name, which is the world's most open secret for plausible deniability reasons. So DeegeGreg.com. You can find my Patreon for my short stories, my Twitter, and all that stuff. Come find me. Like I said, I'm just like this in real life too. So,
Okay, Allison.
I am Ali Sky Richards on Twitter, Alison Sky Richards on Facebook, and you can also find me at AlisonSkyRichards.com, which is my very outdated and needs to be updated website. Just please remember, I only have one L in my name. Otherwise, you're going to end up with completely different people.
Chad.
My Twitter and my Instagram are just my name run together with no spaces or anything. You can find the book I wrote, my science fiction novel, on Amazon. It's called Proxy. You can find my movie I wrote, Dakota Sky, was on Amazon Prime. I don't think it is now, but the director has got the rights back and he's doing a HD remaster, so we should have that back out soon. Please check out LUNATICDARING.com, which is my podcast, and like Gary's showing there. And there on the website, we have not only the new episodes, but we also have our bibliography, our sources list, so you can tell what we're using to tell the story, and also a watch list with links telling to if you want to watch along with us. And then also my Star Wars podcast, which is part of the Needless Things podcast family, and Ryan Schweck, one of my co-hosts, is in the chat right now telling us that we should celebrate Life Day. And
yes, a whole different podcast.
Yeah,
which we will do at some point.
Yeah.
Sean.
Yeah, you can. My handle's been down below, Noma Z. You can go find me on social medias. But if you're looking for some really cool stocking stuffers, maybe some other stuff that you want to buy for people, it's all handmade by local artists. Support local artists out there. You can go and find us right here at popcyclebobbles.com, and you can click the shop button, go check out our Etsy store. And yeah, that's really all there is for me. Thank you guys so much.
And Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm actually an internet ghost and nobody. I'm really kind of homeless. You can find me at Facebook. I know Elizabeth Jones is like the most basic name in the world, but you'll recognize me. I do have my profile. I basically got here one day by sitting on a panel and ragging on Willie Scott, and they keep letting me show up to talk. So I'll stay here as long as I can.
This is what happens if you ask us to
Willie Scott. Okay.
If you ask us to contribute one time, you're going to be on 89 other things.
Mm-hmm. It happens.
Every time you think you're out, we pull you back in.
I got dragged in because this one lives with me.
Yep.
Guilty.
And Gary Mitchell, where can people find you?
Right here, baby, where you found me.
That's right.
Every week. You can find me on the Twitter here at Gary_Mitchell. Slightly less political now that the election is over. And, every week I am here.
Chad. And I am diagonally from Gary, also always right here every Thursday, and all during the week. Find us at facebook.com/group/American Sci-Fi Classics. Like and subscribe to us on the YouTubes, and we will see you. Thank you for spending this chunk of your day with us. We love hanging out with basically the best nerds. Right here right
Mhm.
here. You're going to find us right here. And we will see you next week. Stay safe. We love you. Thank you guys very much.
Wear your mask.
And
Wear your
next
mask.
time,
Yes.
Yes, wear your masks.
Wear your mask.
Safe.
Social
Wash your
distance.
hands.
which,
Anyway.
and we'll join us next time when Gary will say,
But how did he not know that was his dad?